Hey there, it's Anne Marie, the anti-HR HR lady. And this video is of a more personal nature because I'm going to tell you the story of how I became the anti-HR HR lady. And I'm doing this at this time because I just hit 1,000 subscribers on my YouTube channel, which is great, which means my message is getting out to more people, and that makes me happy. But I also noticed that I am also getting a lot more comments from people who actually aren't my intended audience, and I've had to block a lot of people of late. So I wanted to make this video to just share how and why I decided to do what I do here, relevant to giving employee-focused advice, and who I make this content for, frankly, and why I make this content. So it's going to be a little bit of a story time, but how I became the anti-HR lady started probably 20 plus years ago, when I was in my first management position. I was a director at an organization. And I had a supervisor who was a Black woman who sought to push me out of my position in order to promote a lesser qualified person who was white. And I challenged it, and then she started targeting me, harassing me. And ultimately, I ended up navigating my way out of that situation and being paid by the company a significant amount of money to leave. But I had been in that position for 10 years. And it was very traumatizing to me because I was young. I was lucky that I was in law school at the time, so I was able to get advice, able to understand what my rights were and how to exercise them. But most people are not that lucky. It was very, very instructive to me about how HR actually worked, because this was an organization where I had worked for, like I said, 9 years. I thought I, had relationships with people in HR. I thought that the company would do what was right. They didn't. They circled the wagons around this person, and they all helped her to target me. And so I learned a big lesson. It was a very painful lesson for me because, like I said, this was a Black woman who did this. But what I learned from it is, one, that very early, because I was in, my late 20s when this happened to me the first time, was that Black people can and will be used as tools of white supremacy. And that there are a lot of Black people, especially those in the upper echelons of management, who will do anything for white proximity, including targeting and victimizing people who look exactly like them. And so after that experience, I graduated from law school. I stayed in management. I ended up at a startup where I also began to experience discrimination. This time I was in a majority position where I was the only person of color who was in upper management. And I, started experiencing the gaslighting, the microaggressions, the discriminatory treatment, where, my decisions, even though I had been hired into that role, were being constantly questioned by people below me. And then the person above me was always supportive of that because they looked like him and I did not. And when the time came for me to get myself out of it, I did. And I knew what to do the second time. And it wasn't as stressful or traumatizing the second time because I understood what was happening and what to do and how to document and so on. And so I did. And I navigated myself out of it. And then not that long ago, a couple of years ago, I also found myself in a position where I needed to do the same thing again after being in an organization for several years and being the first and the only Black executive and Black woman executive. I dealt with all the things that come with that, which I won't get into detail, but I ultimately was able to once again cash my way out of that. And when I did it the third time, I decided there wasn't going to be a fourth time and that I would create my own business. And not only that, leave the United States, which, I decided I no longer wanted to be a second-class citizen in the country in which I was born. And I decided to move abroad. And cashing out of that workplace allowed me to do that very comfortably. So as I was thinking about, well, what do I want to do now? I decided that I wanted to travel, which is, something else I do. And some of you follow me on other platforms where I share my travel adventures. And travel is my first love. But the second thing I decided was that it was very clear to me that more people that looked like me needed to understand how human resources really works, and that human resources does not exist to serve employees. And it's very clear to me that most American employees, not just people of color and Black people, but all American employees really believe that human resources is there to support them. And it's just not true. Human resources is a risk management apparatus of any company. And first and foremost, it exists to look out for the interests of the company, not the interests of employees. And so what I decided was, since I had successfully cashed out of not one, not two, but three discriminatory hostile work environments, I decided to create a business model that was specifically for employees, to provide employees, especially Black employees and other people of color, information about how to recognize discrimination in their workplace, how to document it, how to communicate with human resources about it, and how to ask for an exit successfully with cash when they needed to get out of those situations as I had. And so I created the AntiHR consultancy for that purpose. And that's completely the reason why my company exists and why I'm on social media and YouTube saying the things that I'm saying, because I've lived these things. I was in executive management. I was on the other side of the table. I was HR. I know how it works. And so now that my audience is getting bigger, I'm noticing, more people coming into the spaces and questioning me, making snide comments and so on. I block them. I don't even usually respond. But I want to be very clear to anyone that watches my videos about why I'm doing what I'm doing and who I'm doing it for. And I want to be very clear. I don't do trolls. I don't argue with strangers on the internet. If you don't like what I'm saying, I invite you to unfollow me, block me if necessary. But if you come into my space and make comments or try to gaslight or question my lived experience or my professional experience, you're just going to get blocked. You're not going to get a response from me. I'm not going to argue with you. I'm just going to block you and move on, because blocking you blesses me. I'm not here to argue with strangers on the internet. I am here to provide employees, especially Black people and Black women, with the information that they need to navigate these work environments that are harming us. They are literally destroying some of us mentally and physically, because what happens up here eventually impacts everything else, right? And so I am very interested in helping as many people as I can get out of these environments for as long as I'm able to do it. Because I tell people all the time, this work is not easy for me. It's very emotionally taxing for me. I'd much rather be on a plane traveling and not doing anything else. But I realize that nobody else is really doing what I do in the way that I'm doing it, and that people need this information. So I continue to do what I do. But what I'm not going to tolerate is someone coming into my space and questioning it. If you don't like what I have to say about white supremacy and the role that it plays in American workplaces and how it harms Black people and other people of color in American workplaces, I invite you to unfollow me immediately, because I'm not going to be talking about it less in the future. I'll probably be talking about it more, because all of these things are connected, right? What happens at work also plays out in every other aspect of American life. And so we need to understand how these things happen, why they happen, and what to do to protect ourselves against it. If you don't like that message, please leave, because it's not going to change. So that's a little bit about how I came to be doing what I'm doing and why I do what I do. I hope it is instructive for all of you. I hope these videos are helpful, and I will continue to make them for as long as I feel that they are. This is Anne Marie, the anti-HR HR lady. HR is not your enemy, but they're definitely not your friend, but I am. See you in the next video. Bye.